Ramush Haradinaj is a Kosovo Albanian politician, a former officer and leader of the Kosovo Liberation Army, and the former Prime Minister of Republic of Kosovo. He leads the AAK party. Following the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Haradinaj was the KLA commander for Western Kosovo. Following the conflict, Haradinaj went into politics but soon resigned after becoming one of the KLA commanders charged by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia with war crimes and crimes against humanity against Serbs, Romani and Albanians between March and September 1998 during the Kosovo War. He was acquitted of all charges on 3 April 2008. The prosecution appealed against the acquittal and argued that it was not given enough time to secure the testimony of two critical witnesses. In 2010, the appeals chamber agreed and ordered a partial retrial in The Hague, Netherlands. The retrial took just over 2 years, and on 29 November 2012, Haradinaj and his co-defendant were acquitted for a second time on all charges. Early life. Haradinaj was born on 3 July 1968, as second of 9 children, in the village of Glodane, near Towinn, in the socialist Serbian province of Kosovo and Metohija. His paternal descent is from Berosh in northern Albania, around the city of Buk. He spent his youth in his native village with his parents and siblings, and completed primary school in Rznic and secondary school in Towinn and Thakovica. After graduating from high school in 1987, he did his mandatory military service in the Yugoslav People's Army, where he later be promoted to platoon commander. After the Kosovo War, Haradinaj attended law school at the University of Pristina. Haradinaj also earned a master's degree in business from the American University of Kosovo, which is associated with the Rochester Institute of Technology in New York State. Emigration to Switzerland and joining KLA. In 1989, using a false name, Haradinaj emigrated to Lausanne, Switzerland. He worked there for 8 years as a construction worker, security guard, and a bouncer in a nightclub. As the Soviet Union dealt with new internal challenges, movements for independence began to form among many of the ethnicities of the Balkans and other states. In Switzerland, Haradinaj joined the Albanian nationalist organization National Movement of Kosovo, from which the KLA originated. This organization wanted to separate Kosovo from Yugoslavia through armed struggle. In 1996, he went through sabotage training in Albania, then participated in the establishment of KLA bases in Kukës and Tropolja. According to media outlets, he organized the smuggle of arms into Kosovo. In one of those operations, he was ambushed by border patrols, during which he was wounded and his brother Luan was killed. In 1998, Haradinaj returned to his hometown of Glodane in Kosovo. Kosovo War. In February 1998, the conflict in Kosovo erupted. According to the ICTY indictment against Fatmir Limaj, Haradin Bala and Isak Musliu, between the 28th of February and the 5th of March, Serb forces launched an offensive against KLA-held villages of Likosan, Sarez, and Prikazi. Serbian special forces attacked 3 adjacent villages in Drenas, without warning, killing close to 100 civilians in the 3 villages. In all, 83 Kosovo Albanians were killed. Among the dead were elderly people and at least 24 women and children. Many of the victims were shot at close range, which suggested summary executions. Subsequent reports from eyewitnesses confirmed this. The attacks on these 3 villages marked a turning point in the war. KLA membership increased as many Albanians began to fear that the village would be targeted next. The next village targeted was Ramush Haradinaj. Haradinaj's home village of Glogjan. Less than 3 weeks after the attacks in Drenica, Serbian forces surrounded the village of Glogjan and mounted a similar attack. And the Haradinaj family, however, was aware of the previous attacks in Drenica and defended the village. They utilized the superior knowledge of the terrain and local defenses to good effect, and under the leadership of Haradinaj, they successfully repelled the attack. This job was made more difficult because Serbian police forces captured a group of civilians and used them as human shields, marching the group in front of Serb soldiers as the forces took cover behind them and attempted to kill the Haradinaj. During the firefight, Ramush Haradinaj was seriously wounded during this assault after being shot in the hip by a Serbian policeman. He survived by packing his wound with cheese he found in the room where he took cover. During the firefight, 3 young Kosovo Albanian boys under the age of 18 were killed by Serbian forces, which further galvanized the Albanian population to support the KLA. It is not known how many of the Serbian forces were killed. After successfully repelling the Serbian attack, Haradinaj gained a leadership position in the KLA in western Kosovo. By May 1998 he was regarded as commander of Glogjan and surrounding villages, and by June 1998 he became commander of the Dukagjan operational zone. Western Kosovo's proximity to Albania provided a corridor through which the KLA could procure weapons. Haradinaj established himself as a commander during heavy fighting in his area. As war broke out in western Kosovo during the spring of 1998, Serbian and Albanian families fled the area for fear of getting caught up in the intense hostilities breaking out. In September 1998, some months later, the bodies of 39 people were found near Glogjan. The victims were local people of both Albanian and Serbian ethnicities. The discovery of the bodies led to public accusations of war crimes against Haradinaj and his group. From soldier to politician, after demilitarization of the KLA following NATO's entry into Kosovo in 1999, the KLA was transformed into the Kosovo Protection Corps. In this new force, Haradinaj was appointed as a deputy commander under Agim Seku. He retired from the KPC on the 11th of April 2000 and announced that he was entering politics. With support from the former communist leader Mehmet Bakali, Haradinaj founded the Alliance for the Future of Kosovo. On the 29th of April 2000, he was elected president of the party. Some former KLA supporters had hoped to see Haradinaj enter a political alliance with Hashim Thaçi, the political leader of the KLA. By 2000, Thaçi led the Democratic Party of Kosovo. They formed the chief opposition to the Ibrahim Rugova-led Democratic League of Kosovo, which had been opposed to the KLA. Haradinaj said he had formed a new party to create a new paradigm for the future of democratic politics in Kosovo, to leave wartime divisions behind. Haradinaj enjoyed limited electoral success up to and including the elections of 2004. Following the Kosovo elections of October 2004, he entered into coalition talks with the LDK, led by Dr. Rugova, then president of Kosovo. Rugova formed a government and nominated Haradinaj as prime minister. In the Kosovo Assembly, Haradinaj's candidacy for prime minister won the support of 72 members out of 120, with only 3 opposing. Some observers considered Haradinaj's coalition with the Rugova-led LDK to be a reconciliation of the animosities of the war and immediate post-war periods. The PDK opposed the coalition. Haradinaj appeared to form a close and productive working relationship with Ibrahim Rugova and other senior figures in the LDK. In February 2009, the Ugandan rebel group Allied Democratic Forces, a Muslim group, asked Haradinaj to mediate peace talks with the central government in Kampala. On 10 November 2012, Albanian President Dujan Ashani decorated Haradinaj with the Skanderbeg's Order. Trial for war crimes at ICTY. First trial. Haradinaj served 100 days as Prime Minister in 2005 before being indicted for war crimes by the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia at The Hague. The indictment alleges that Haradinaj, as a commander of the KLA, committed crimes against humanity and violations of the laws and customs of war between March and September 1998, the alleged purpose of which was to exert control over territory, targeting both Serb, Albanian, and Romani civilians. He was acquitted on 3 April 2008 because of lack of convincing evidence. When the ICTY indictment was issued in March 2005, Haradinaj chose to step down immediately from his position as Prime Minister. The following day he travelled voluntarily to The Hague, where he submitted himself to the custody of the court and remained for 2 months until he was granted provisional release pending trial. The head of the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo during this time, Soren Jessen-Petersen, welcomed the decision Haradinaj to face the tribunal voluntarily, praised his work and described Haradinaj as a close partner and friend. Regardless, Western intelligence reports that Haradinaj was a key figure in the range between organized crime and politics. Citing Mr. Haradinaj's compliance with the ICTY and the fact that he posed no risk of flight and no risk towards witnesses, the trial chamber of the ICTY extended his provisional release and allowed him to wait for trial in his hometown of Pristina. Further, the appeals chamber later granted Haradinaj the unprecedented right for an indictee to engage in public political activity. Such activity was, however, subject to the approval of UNMIK. This step was unprecedented in the history of international criminal law and seen as a reflection of the fact that Mr. Haradinaj voluntarily submitted himself to the court. Critics, however, argued that this went too far. The prosecution argued that although Mr. Haradinaj posed no threat to witnesses, his mere presence in Kosovo could have a chilling effect on whether witnesses would testify. On 26 February 2007, Haradinaj was flown back to Hague so that the trial could proceed. In the previous days he held meetings with Kosovo's President Fatmir Secau, Prime Minister Ajim Seku, the head of the United Nations mission in Kosovo, Wikim Ruka, and various diplomatic officers. At a news conference he urged the public to remain calm and was steadfast in his belief that the trial would result in a full acquittal. The longtime chief prosecutor of International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, Carla Del Ponte, has remained steadfastly unimpressed by the international support for Haradinaj, continuing to make strongly negative statements about him. She told the German Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung that, according to the decision to provisionally release him, he is a stability factor for Kosovo. I never understood this. For me he is a war criminal. The trial, which was enforced by Carla Del Ponte, began on 5 March 2007 and Haradinaj's defense team was led by Queen's Counsel Ben Emerson. an international human rights lawyer who had supporting counsel in Rodney Dixon, also of Matrix Chambers of London. The legal defence team as a whole was coordinated by Irish political consultant and financier Michael O'Reilly. At the opening of proceedings, Carla Del Ponte pointed to the problems of the accuser. The intimidation of witnesses was a major problem in the investigation. She claimed that it was difficult to find witnesses who were willing to testify not just to the prosecutors, but also for the tribunal. The difficulty in Kosovo was that no one helped us, neither the UN administration nor NATO. On the 20th of July 2007, Ramush Haradinaj's application for provisional release during the summer court recess was denied. He was granted a second exceptional provisional release over the Christmas court recess. The trial chamber rendered its decision on the 3rd of April 2008 not guilty. Defenders of Haradinaj, Balaj and Brahimaj have not taken a single witness of the defense to the stand, considering that unnecessary. The prosecution was unable to bring to the courtroom 3 planned witnesses. One of them was committed to a mental health institution at the time he was called to testify. Another, Sheikh Akabashi, refused to testify, citing the OTP's failure to live up to the conditions set for his testimony. Haradinaj's full acquittal, however, was pulled by whispers that witnesses had been intimidated. In fact, during the first trial, 2 witnesses failed to attend, and it was feared their evidence could have been determinative to the outcome. The judges addressed the atmosphere of intimidation that surrounded the trial directly and noted, the chamber encountered significant difficulties in securing the testimony of a large number of these witnesses. Many cited fear as a prominent reason for not wishing to appear before the chamber to give evidence. In this regard, the chamber gained a strong impression that the trial was being held in an atmosphere where witnesses felt unsafe, due to a number of factors set out in the judgment. Witness intimidation. Because witness intimidation had been such an important issue during the initial trial, witness protection was a prominent feature in both trials. During both trials, the prosecution took great pains to protect the identity of witnesses called to testify. This often included voice modification, pseudonyms, and in some cases witness relocation. During the retrial, the court took the extraordinary measure of moving the entire court to an undisclosed secret location in order to secure the testimony of a protected witness. These efforts paid off. The ICTY stated that no witnesses were murdered during either trial. The judgments of each trial chamber can be found on the ICTY's website, www.ict.org. There was some confusion over this point because during the first trial, 97 witnesses were called by the prosecution to testify against Mr. Haradinaj. However, 2 did not testify, and 1 witness died shortly before trial. His name was Kujtim Berisha, and his death has been used as evidence that witnesses were killed. Kujtim Berisha was killed on the 18th of February 2007 in a drunk driving car accident in Podgorica, Montenegro. This accident was thoroughly investigated by Montenegrin authorities, who found that the perpetrator was a 67-year-old Montenegrin Serb named Aleksandar Ristovic. Ristovic drove his car into Berisha and 2 other men while under the influence of alcohol. The Montenegrin daily Vijeshti states that police confirmed that at the moment of accident Ristovic was drunk, driving at a very high speed. The ICTY tribunal confirmed this, noting, the tribunal noted that Kujtim Berisha was the only person who was planned to be called as a witness in the Haradinaj trial. He died in a 2007 car accident in Podgorica. Montenegrin investigators found no evidence that the accident was staged. Various media outlets from several different countries have written that as many as 19 people who were supposed to be witnesses in the trial against Haradinaj were murdered. The ICTY disputed these reports. The first time the ICTY formally refuted this rumor was shortly after the initial trial. Serbian media claimed that Mr. Haradinaj's acquittal was based on the mafia-style killing of witnesses. The ICTY spokeswoman in Serbia, Emma Ulacic, stated that these allegations were untrue and served only to politicize the work of the court. Her statement was later echoed and reaffirmed by the ICTY trial chamber itself, which commented that no witnesses in the protected witness program were killed during the initial trial. The Serbian war crimes prosecutor disagreed with the ICTY. He claimed that potential ICTY witnesses had been murdered. In 2011, the Serbian war crimes prosecutor, however, is not connected with the ICTY in any capacity whatsoever. Instead, he is a Serbian political appointee elected by the Serbian National Assembly who is charged with prosecuting war crimes in Serbia. The ICTY refuted his statement, and shortly thereafter the ICTY war crimes prosecutor responded to these allegations and claimed again that no ICTY witnesses had been murdered. Two of the individuals listed by the Serbian war crimes prosecutor turned out to still be alive. Second trial. The second trial began in 2011 in front of a second trial chamber made up of 3 different judges. Mr. Haradinaj was represented again by Ben Emerson Q.C., Mr. Rodney Dixon Q.C., and Andrew Strong. The prosecution called 56 witnesses against Mr. Haradinaj, and again Mr. Haradinaj called no defense witness. On November 29, 2012, Ramush Haradinaj was acquitted a second time. This time, due to the extreme diligence of the court and of the parties, there was no allegation of witness intimidation. Instead, the judges found that not only was there no evidence to convict Mr. Haradinaj, the court held that the evidence established that he had acted to prevent criminal behavior where he could. The central allegation against Mr. Haradinaj was that he participated in a criminal plan to persecute civilians. The court directly addressed this allegation and stated in its summary of the judgment that, even if the existence of such common plan were established, which is not the finding of the chamber, there is nothing in the evidence to indicate that Ramush Haradinaj or Idris Balaj may have been involved in any such common plan. On the contrary, the evidence establishes that when Ramush Haradinaj found out about the detention and mistreatment of Skender Kuci, he went to Jablanice, Jablanica to speak to Nazmi Brahimaj regarding Skender Kuci's release, telling him that no such thing should happen anymore because this is damaging our cause. When witness 3 was brought to Ramush Haradinaj after his escape from Jablanice, Jablanica and subsequent apprehension by Lahi Brahimaj, Ramush Haradinaj offered food and accommodation to witness 3 and released him to his family. No credible evidence has been presented by the prosecution to establish that Ramush Haradinaj was even aware of the crimes committed at the KLA compound in Jablanice, Jablanica. After this ruling, there were serious questions raised as to why Mr. Haradinaj was ever indicted in the first place. Indeed, a former Director of Public Prosecutions, Lord MacDonald of Riverglavan QC, said yesterday, "This prosecution was a stupid attempt to equate resistance with aggression." It was an embarrassment to the international community. The governments of both Albania and Kosovo have demanded a public inquiry into the behavior of the chief prosecutor, Carla Del Ponte, over her conduct to bring this indictment forward. Jeffrey Nice, the ICTY prosecutor in the Milosevic case, wrote in a column in Co-Editore that at least 3 experienced prosecution lawyers advised Del Ponte against indicting Ramush Haradinaj since it could not be proved he was guilty. One of those lawyers was Andrew T. Kaliq, one of the most esteemed lawyers at the tribunal and currently the chief prosecutor at the Cambodian tribunal. He stated that he felt increasing pressure to bring the case despite an acute lack of evidence. Sir Jeffrey Nice commented that the pressure to bring the case against Ramush Haradinaj stemmed from the lead prosecutor at the time, Carla Del Ponte, and he speculated that she wanted to use the indictment against Haradinaj as a coin to trade with Belgrade in order to convince the Serbian government to hand over its high-profile war criminal fugitives, Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadzic. After a thorough review of the initial evidence, Andrew T. Kaliq, wrote to the chief prosecutor at the time, in which he told her that the prosecution could not proceed on the evidence it had. That report was immediately discarded and Kale was reprimanded for his views. As a result of the manner in which the chief prosecutor ignored Kale's advice and pursued the indictment against Mr. Haradinaj, 3 senior prosecutors, Geoffrey Nice QC, Andrew T. Kaliq, and Mark Harmon, left the office of the prosecutor. On 25 April 2008, the ICTY officially opened indictments against astronaut Harakia and his counselor Bajrush Marina for contempt of court in Haradinaj's case. On July 23, 2009, astronaut Harakia was acquitted of all charges by the appeals chamber. The court sentenced Bajrush Marina to 3 months imprisonment for attempting to obstruct a witness from testifying. In rendering its sentence, the court acknowledged that there were no aggravating factors that should increase the sentence. The sentence did have mitigating factors, however. These included the fact that the witness Marina was convicted of intimidating, stated that the conversation occurred in a friendly atmosphere, that he never felt intimidated once felt threatened or intimidated, and that Bajrush Marina apologized to the witness immediately after speaking to him and before he was arrested. In 2009, The Trial, a feature-length documentary on Haradinaj's trial at the ICTY, was produced and released. The film premiered at the Galway Film Fleet in 2009. Controversies. In spring 2000, Ramush Haradinaj was involved in a fist-fight with Russian soldiers at a KFOR checkpoint, and later that year was involved in a shootout in Strelch with members of the Musac family, which was covered up by U.S. officials of Camp Bondsteel. He was injured and sent by a U.S. helicopter to Germany, while the location, long from U.S. area of responsibility, was cleansed of evidence. It is alleged that he beat the soldiers under his command in order to maintain discipline, and was described as a psychopath by one of his former soldiers. Family and personal life. Haradinaj's ancestors originated from Abal, Puke in northern Albania, who later then migrated to Kosovo. His father, mother and remaining family members still reside in the family home in the community of Glojane. He was formerly married to a Finnish woman with whom he has a minor son, Shkelsen. Ramush Haradinaj is currently married to the RTK News reporter Anita Haradinaj. They have 3 young children, 2 boys and 1 girl. Haradinaj has 5 brothers. 2 of them, Luan and Shkelsen, were killed as members of the KLA during the fights with the Serbian security forces. In December 2002, Haradinaj's brother-daughter was sentenced by a UN court in Kosovo for his involvement in the kidnapping and murder of 4 Kosovo Albanians, who belonged to the FARC, an armed formation of Kosovo Albanians and rivals of the KLA, to 5 years in prison. Enver Haradinaj, another brother of Ramush, was assassinated in April 2005 in a drive-by shootout in Kosovo. According to the UN security forces, there was a confrontation between rival Kosovo Albanian clans. The youngest brother Frasha was still a student as of 2007 and worked in the service of the now former Provisional Institutions of Self-Government. Haradinaj does not consider himself as a Muslim. He declared, "For generations my family members were Catholics. I do not know why I'm Muslim. I've never been in a mosque, nor asked for anything else." He speaks Serbian, having used it in interviews and speeches to the Kosovo Serb community, according to himself, to show respect.